Here, you deploy massive actions, you receive proof. As you receive proof, you increase the frequency.
I think it's always about retraining your thoughts and how you speak to yourself.
Impractical ambition is the number one reason for suffering.
What's the decision that you're actually glad that you've made before it was too late? Got changed generations ago.
Edoardo Camminare.
They own a pub in Lake Como, apparently.
Ah, really?
Yeah.
Sure, kept it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's still alive or not.
Ah, yeah?
Potentially. I'm yet to go yet.
All right, welcome everybody to another episode of Ask the CEO. I'm very excited to be here today with another guest. But before we get started, I want to give a quick introduction about who we are and what we do and what we stand for. My name is Patrick Cadei. I'm the co-founder of Community Collective, a company based in Australia and New Zealand. So if you're interested about sales, if you're interested about leadership in sales, you should watch this podcast because we're going to unpack a lot of value, okay? That's what we do. We do outsource sales, we do consulting. We have 160 people working at Community Collective, 140 of which are in sales, okay? So we know what it is that we talk about, okay? But again, without further ado, I want to introduce the new guest, Mr. Ed Walker, who's a team leader within Community Collective. So let's officially welcome him. So welcome, Ed.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here.
No problem. How do you feel? Are you excited about today?
Very, very excited, mate. So I think, it's an awesome opportunity not only to speak to the one and only Patrick Cadei, but
there we go.
To go over a couple of topics as well. It'd be awesome, mate.
There we go, mate. I hope that you got some great questions for today.
Hopefully, mate. Hopefully.
Hopefully. But look, Ed, before we get started with the questions, right? So obviously people don't really know who you are.
Yeah.
If you want to give a quick introduction about yourself, right?
Yeah,
Predominantly, who you are, where you come from, and why back in the days, I can't remember how long time ago, but why you made the decision to actually step into sales and start working in sales. Mm-hmm. So if you want to share more about that one.
Yeah, most definitely. I think sales for me, the journey, I was probably like a lot of others, I kind of fell into it.
Yeah.
I just previously left my last role and was searching just for different things, kind of seeing what's out there.
Yeah.
Came across Community Collective. Luckily enough, I actually had someone that I knew.
Oh, really?
Back in the day.
Okay.
That worked here.
Okay.
So got in contact, started talking about
was it Josh?
Yeah, Austin.
Austin, okay.
Yeah, so we started having a bit of a chat. He was pretty eager to get me surrounded by Braden and the likes of individuals like yourself.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure he knew would influence me towards this path.
Yeah, there you go.
You go. But no, he spoke super highly of it. So thought I'd give it a go. And now we're about, a year? It'd roughly be about 15 months now since joining. So
wow,
it's been an amazing
time flies,
journey.
Huh?
Oh, mate, incredible. Like
time
this
flies.
This year's already going just quick as dust, really. So no, that's kind of my, I guess, introduction into sales. And
okay.
From the journey we've developed and built the skill sets to acquire a team and start leading them. Mm-hmm. Sales as well obviously comes as a consequence. I think you need to be doing that in order to grow in this business.
Absolutely.
But mate, it's been an unreal journey.
So what were you doing before then?
So I had a couple different roles before. Directly before this role, I was basically managing a warehouse. So
okay.
It was like outbound kind of logistics work.
Okay.
As well as, getting everyone sorted. So, I guess there was elements to leadership, but definitely nothing like what we've got here.
Okay. And why did you make the decision, right? Because I assume that your role was a pretty good role, okay? Or at least considered good. You had the responsibilities. So why did you change? Because a lot of people in your position would have thought, oh, it's a safe job. I'm a manager of a warehouse. I'm managing people, So why did you take the risk and start getting sales, starting from an entry-level positions and essentially, go for the unknown rather than the safe journey?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, to be fair, I started going down a road of like self-development. So looking into figures like Robert Kiyosaki and all these kind of guys that were out there, started reading books about like leadership, sales, I guess just developing into like a better human being in a way.
Okay.
And just fell down that road.
That's great.
Yeah, this was obviously, as you said, like it's was going from, in a way, a bigger fish sort of to a smaller pond. But yeah, mate, I'm so glad I did it, to be honest.
Okay.
Like, yeah, wouldn't be here without it.
So was there anything in these books that you were reading that said, you know, you should pick a career in sales and why?
Definitely. Yeah. There was multiple things. Like a lot of, I think the percentage is almost like 70% of Australia's billionaires come from some form of direct sales or sales industry in general. But I think there's major 3 pillars, which is like your marketing, your sales, and obviously your leadership, which can develop into, you know, massive skill sets, which get you very far. So if you're willing, I guess, to put in the hard yards, that's kind of what you need to build. Like that's the skill sets you need in order to achieve greatness in life, I truly believe. So
absolutely.
Yeah, and that all came from, those kind of books.
And now you're in the process of employing your whole entire family, right? Yeah. Because if you guys don't know, Ed's brother, 100%. Lewis is now working with us as well, and is working in your team. You guys are working together.
Yeah.
So how is that going, and how did you manage to get your brother across? Okay, why did he start as well?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think he's probably seen, like, from a personal element, my development external to anyone else. So he's seen from the start and sort of who I've become now. And I think that development's just drawn him like a big attraction to this industry in general. Right. But he probably came from somewhat of a bigger career path than what I was in even.
What was he doing?
He was a civil engineer.
Okay.
So, yeah, like he had obviously, to be fair, probably one of the most mathematical minded people I know, like in the sense of his engineering side of things. He was just so switched on. And yeah, I thought, why not give him like at least sort of lay down, I guess, a couple of C's to see if he'd buy it.
Yeah.
You know, I was talking about what we can sort of give him here, and he was like, yeah, why not? Give it a go.
Yeah. And he's doing well, right?
Mate, he's smashing it.
Okay. So he started working with us because he witnessed your journey of transformation,
100%.
right? And he really noticed, you know, the person that you have become along the journey. Was that the main reason?
Yeah, I truly probably attribute it to that for sure.
Okay. That's phenomenal, man. That's phenomenal. I'm excited to work with you both. I'm excited to work with you both.
Yeah, we are as well.
That's great. That's great. So what do you want to talk about? What are the main points of discussion that you have for today? Yeah. What do we want to cover?
Well, to take the time, I guess, with yourself, I've written up a couple of things that I wanted to sort of go over. Mostly it's around like risk and I guess sales in general, as well as like developing people into the people they want to be. One of the main ones, I guess, sort of that was leading me down, because I was thinking in my head, like, what can I ask Patrick? You know, awesome opportunity. I was like, why not ask him some of the things that I think that I might face in the future?
Absolutely.
So I think I truly believe this already, but the biggest risk in life is having regret. So the question I pose is like, what's the decision that you're glad you made before it was too late?
That's a great question, right? So in general, I think that the best decisions that you make in life are the decisions when you actually decide to challenge your limiting beliefs. Yeah. Right? So there are times, and I do this several times every single year, where I sit down and I ask myself, what are some assumptions that I have about life, some assumptions that I have about business, some assumptions that I have about me, and why do I believe that these assumptions are true? So the biggest decision of my life, to be completely honest with you, as you know, I'm Italian, I was raised in Switzerland, and when I was going to school, I was not good with languages. So I was studying French, German, and English, but I was absolutely terrified about languages. In fact, I skipped pretty much all the classes. Maybe that's why I wasn't good. But especially English. English was my biggest fear growing up. I don't know, man, I just couldn't get it, right? But I couldn't get it because I was convinced that I couldn't get it, okay? And then my English teacher told me one day, Patrick, I think English is just not for you. He told me, it's like, look, you're really bad, right? I never seen anybody as bad as you. And I don't think you're ever going to get it. And so, you know, when he told me that, I believed it. And I said, you know, you see, I thought that I was bad. He told me exactly the same thing. Maybe it's just the way it is. So then I went to university, and even at uni, you know, English was absolutely terrible. I remember the exam at the end of year 3, there was an English exam where we were supposed to watch a 2.5-hour video in English. And man, I was just staring at this TV and I couldn't understand what the fuck was going on. Like literally, there was a graph there for 30 seconds. That's the only thing that I could understand because there was a visual. Otherwise, literally, I couldn't understand them. So that was my assumption about me. I was like, that's the way I am. You know, my destiny is just going to be in Italy. It's just going to be in the Italian part of Switzerland. As you know, down south in Switzerland, there is a small region where we speak Italian.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's it. That's going to be my life. Until one day I was sitting on the couch and I was like, you know, my dream is to build an international business. My dream is to expand around the world. And I observed my father growing up, because my father is an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But my father was always confined because he can't speak other languages. And therefore he believed that since he can only speak Italian, he couldn't grow in different countries just because he wasn't comfortable with it. And so that day I made a decision and I said, you know what, fuck it. Maybe the teacher was wrong. Maybe I've been wrong. So I decided to pack my bags and I went to Brighton in England for 6 months, where I did study English. And look, I still have an accent 11 years later, but at least now I can understand the language and I can communicate. And I decided to challenge my assumption. And it's funny because all the money that I made, every single dollar that I made up until now, I made that money because I speak English.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I think it's always about retraining your thoughts, and how you speak to yourself is so important. Because even in general, if you're speaking away, you're almost training your subconscious mind in order to think that way. And it's crazy how, you know, you've got your reticular activating system that's filtering through all your thoughts that you're having daily. But in order to retrain that, it's actually not that difficult. It is, but it's not. It's just being active and conscious of the way that you need to change your thought patterns. But I guess to go back to your question, yeah, definitely. I think still to this day, there's still limiting beliefs that I'm still trying to overcome in personal and professional life. So I think it's just about being more conscious of those things instead of just letting it be just the daily grind of it all again.
Absolutely. Yes. And it's exciting. Like, that's what I always say to people. When people identify their limiting beliefs, usually they say, all right, cool, this is going to be very hard. It's going to be very tough. No, it's going to be very exciting.
100%.
You need to reframe the mindset that you have towards limiting beliefs. When you acknowledge that you have one, tackle it and get excited about it. Because you know that once you fully remove it, life will unfold.
Yeah, most definitely. And it's literally part and parcel of starting that sort of process myself. I've seen things coming in. It's almost like you attract things towards yourself as well.
Absolutely.
It's like it's almost like you're manifesting it into reality, which is another whole concept, I guess.
Absolutely. You can never outperform the opinion that you hold about yourself.
Yeah, heavy. And I remember you telling me that probably at I reckon it was one of the conferences potentially.
Yeah.
But that's, still solidified in my notes, something that I read through quite regularly as well.
Yeah.
Because it's so true. And you see it in your day-to-day life as well. Like externally to this business, you see people and you just wish that they could have that in their mind. You're not wrong. Pretty crazy.
Absolutely, man. But I couldn't agree more. Cannot live with regret.
Yeah.
So identifying your limiting beliefs is one. And then the second one is removing impractical ambition, which is what I see. I think impractical ambition is the number one reason for suffering, okay? Wanting something, but not being willing to do what is required to get what it is that you want, right? And a lot of people do that. They're like, man, I want this, but then I want to sleep 14 hours every day. I want this, but I want to get drunk twice a week. I want this, but I want to watch 20 hours of TV every week. I want this, but I don't want to read books. I want this, but I don't want to challenge myself. I want this, but I don't want to invest in my self-development. I want this, but I don't want to face challenges, right? I want everything to be comfortable. I want this, but I want the perfect routine, and I don't want uncertainty in my life. You know, you got to be careful, right? Because once you identify what you want, sometimes your values, what it is that you stand for, are the antithesis of your goals. And if that's the case, you know, you're not going to be able to achieve your goals. So make sure that you don't suffer with impractical. That's more an advice. Make sure that you don't suffer with impractical ambition. If you want something, okay, and you're like, man, I want this, you got to understand that you may need to change your value system. Again, you need to change your limiting beliefs one more time.
For sure.
And you need to embrace the obstacles and the challenges that are coming along the way. Because the bigger the target, the bigger the challenges. That's how it works, right? Otherwise, everybody will be living an amazing life. But there is a reason why most people don't. Because they're not willing to challenge themselves, and they're not willing to change their belief and value system, which is why they remain exactly where they are. But that's the worst position to be in, because when you suffer with impractical ambition, you are extremely internally conflicted, because you want something big but you don't have it. you're aware that you're not utilizing your full potential and you hate yourself for it.
Yeah.
Because you know deep inside you're like, man, I'm capable of doing so much more.
Yeah.
And then what people do when that happens, when people are internally conflicted, they punish themselves.
Yeah.
The way they punish themselves is through self-sabotage.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, I know that I could be 100 times better. I know that I could be living this life, but I'm not. So what am I going to do now? I'm going to self-sabotage. I'm going to do drugs. I'm going to get drunk tonight. At least I got an excuse to justify why I'm not moving forward.
For sure.
That's what people do, right? So careful when it comes to impractical ambition, whatever it is that you want. Make sure that you're deploying the actions.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. A lot of people say, take massive actions, right?
Yeah,
if you ever listen to Tony Robbins, take massive actions. You got to take massive actions. But you cannot take massive actions unless you change your belief system first.
For sure.
Because if you're limiting yourself in your own mind,
Yeah.
the actions that you take, they can't be massive. They will be very contained.
Yeah.
Right? So always starts from here first. Always starts from challenging your assumptions. And once you challenge your belief system, everything unfolds. I repeat.
Yeah. Do you reckon in terms of like finding a fine line between that, like in practical ambition, but ambition in general, where would you draw the line between it? It has to align with your actions in the day-to-day? Or is it more so?
Yeah, absolutely. It also has to align with the type of business that you run and with what it is that you do in life, right?
Yeah.
If, I don't know, if you're running a certain business and you may say, I want to be a multi-billionaire. Well, the business that you run may not allow you to ever become a multi-billionaire. You may be in the wrong line of business. That's an impractical ambition as well.
For sure.
You want to be a multi-billionaire? Well, maybe study what multi-billionaires have done and ask yourself if the business that you run can ever allow you to do so. Otherwise, you're just going to suffer for nothing, because it's impractical to believe that doing what you're doing right now can lead to a certain outcome, right? So it's about being clear. That's what I believe.
Having some
right?
clarity,
So,
yeah.
Yes.
For sure.
Impractical ambition is also, sometimes people start working here, they don't know anything about sales, and they say, man, in 6 months from now, I'm going to be making $500,000. And I'm like, yeah, look, I'm not saying it's impossible, but could more than likely be impractical because you don't know anything. First, you got to become the $500,000 brain, and then you can attract the money as well, or the $1 million brain, or the $2 or the $10 million brain, whatever, right? But you got to allow yourself to develop and to become the guy that can align with the money that it is that you want.
Have you noticed a big change now that you do, I guess, have someone of, like, you set yourself up pretty well? Do you notice that, like, now the frequency that you operate on attracts more?
Yeah,
like
for
it's
sure.
almost like,
Absolutely.
did you notice the change between, like, maybe back in the day to say now?
Yeah, of course, man. But also because now I believe that, I label myself as a certain type of person. There was a time in the past where I wasn't sure that I could ever get the life that I have today. I was sure, but there is always a little bit of fear.
Of course.
Now that I've got it for a certain and extended period of time, I label myself as that guy. And I position myself differently in the market. I position myself differently when I speak to people. And therefore, you attract bigger opportunities because I label myself as a bigger person than I was.
For sure.
Right? So that happens over time. How does that happen? Once you start receiving proof.
Yeah.
Okay, because you can believe what it is that you want, but unless you receive proof from life that you are that person, you're not going to fully believe it.
Yeah, for sure.
Starts from here, you deploy massive actions, you receive proof. As you receive proof, you increase the frequency, right? Because then you're like, fuck, okay. I said to myself that I could be this guy. I wasn't 100% certain, but now I am because I'm receiving proof. So you act differently, you behave differently, you operate on a different frequency, then you start attracting a different life.
Yeah, and obviously you hold yourself to quite high esteem, like you always dress super well, all that kind of stuff.
More casual today. I'm in a process of changing things up.
I like it, man. I like it. But would you hold like it down to, I guess, even that kind of stuff? Like it's just everything in your life now has to align with that? Is it like to attire, to like how you're speaking, who you're speaking to, what you're like? Is it everything in a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, for sure. Look, there are certain areas in life, right? Finances, business, relationships, health, your body. What else is there? Did I say relationship? Friendships, love, and whatever else, right? So am I perfect in every area? Not yet.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, there are areas where I'm better than others. I'm trying to improve in every single area. But yes, you get to a point where you want to hold yourself to high standards in as many areas as possible.
For sure,
okay?
for
And
sure.
that is a journey. It's funny, I was speaking to a friend of mine. He's a multi-millionaire. I think he's worth around $100 million. Okay?
Light work.
He's a great guy. He's my age.
Okay.
He's 34 years old.
Yeah.
Phenomenal guy in business. Phenomenal guy with money. Terrible health.
Okay.
Terrible. Last year, he said to me, last year I thought that I was going to die because my health was so bad that I thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, like this guy has, a lot of money. This guy can access to the best products, the best supplements, the best doctors, can have everything that he wants. But his health is terrible. And I said to him, listen, can I give you a piece of advice? Because you're giving me a lot of advice when it comes to money and real estate especially. I'm going to give you a piece. The reason why your health is so bad is because your standards when it comes to health are so low. All you got to do is to apply the same standards that you have in business to health, and then everything is going to change.
Yeah.
Because you keep telling me that the only reason why your health is so bad is because you don't know what to do to fix it.
Yeah.
But you never had that mindset in business. I said,
100%.
in business, you never told me, I just didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
If there was something that you didn't know, you did your research, you paid people to teach you how to do it, and then you went and did it.
Yeah.
But when it comes to health, you have this belief that health is difficult to understand, that you don't want to understand it. So you just surrender to the fact that you're just not good with health.
Yeah.
And he goes, fuck, I never looked at it that way.
Yeah, crazy.
I said, your life is a reflection of your standards in every single area. I'm not going to say his name, but I'm like, man, you're phenomenal in business. Apply the same mentality when it comes to health, and you're going to be fucking phenomenal as well.
100%.
Right? So, yeah, man. That's it.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept that some people can operate on such a high level, but then there's some other things. But I guess it's like everything. In terms of your health, like, do you prioritize that kind of aspect of your life as well, like with your schedules?
Yes, I prioritize energy. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I prioritize. At the end of the day, energy will, like Tony Robbins talks about this, energy will determine the quality of your life. If you think about it, you can't be happy unless you're energized, can you?
Yeah, I agree.
You can't.
Even music and things like that even become less good.
That's it. But everything is terrible if you're not energized.
For sure,
Like everything. The value of every relationship that you have in your life, is nothing else than a reflection of the energy that you bring into that relationship.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like people are like, the relationship with my partner is not going well. Probably because the energy that you're bringing into the relationship is fucking terrible.
Yeah.
And look, I was guilty of that as well. Like I thought that was justifiable to work very hard during the day and then go home at night and just be tired. And I convinced myself that that was okay. But that's not okay.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not okay. Because that means that the standards that I applied to my relationship were very low. I wouldn't do that to my business. Like even if I'm tired, even if I'm exhausted in the morning in the elevator, I would never walk into the office like this. Hey guys, like, so tired today. Leave me out. I would never do that.
Yeah.
But I was doing that with my partner, which is not fair.
Yeah.
Right? So then I just changed it and be like, I gotta put more effort into this, and energy is a choice. You can decide the energy levels that you have. Energy is nothing else but an emotional state.
Yeah.
So I started rewiring my emotional state before walking to my house, and everything changed.
Okay.
So what I try to do, to go back to your question, is everything perfect in my life? Absolutely not. But I try to do everything that I can to maximize my energy levels as much as I possibly can.
Yeah.
That's what I do. So I do prioritize my health, of course, because I know that if I don't have my health, I don't have energy. If I don't have my energy, I live a shitty life.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay? That's it.
Yeah. With going back onto the energy though, like obviously you've got your diet, you've got your schedules and all that kind of stuff. You were saying about rewiring your mind. Is there actionable ways that you do that?
Absolutely.
Is it just like the sort of deep breaths, like subconscious sort of stuff, or?
No, look, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Okay, so physiology is the number one trigger for energy. Like if you think about it, when you have low energy levels, how do you sit? You kind of sit like this.
Yeah.
Right? If you sit like this right now, you can't feel energized.
For sure.
But if now you straight your back, you throw your shoulders back, you put a big smile on your face, you start moving your body, maybe you whistle, maybe you start singing a song.
Yeah.
Okay. Chest up like this. Boom. The energy is back right away.
For sure. Yeah. Okay.
So I think that people are convinced that energy has everything to do with physicality. And they're like, oh, I haven't slept enough last night, therefore I don't have energy. I didn't go to the gym this morning, therefore I don't have energy. I didn't eat as much today, therefore I don't have energy. But I want to debate with that, because if you think about it, have you ever done fasting before?
Yes, I have, yeah.
Okay, you do a 3-day fast, you feel more energized after 3 days.
Yeah.
Right? You haven't had any food, but you feel more energized.
Yeah.
So the belief that energy comes from food, of course, if you don't eat for an extended period of time, you're going to die. Yeah. Okay? But people have the belief that if they haven't eaten anything for 7 hours, that's why they don't have energy.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Yeah,
it's mental.
Yeah.
What about sleep? Of course, sleep is crucial. But there's been many times where maybe you have a holiday coming up. Okay? You're leaving for a holiday tomorrow. You don't sleep. You sleep 1 hour because you're so excited. But even with 1 hour sleep, the day after, you feel like what?
Yeah, functional.
Extremely energized, right? Sure. So what I believe is like energy is an emotional state.
Yeah.
If you want to change that emotional state, it starts from your physiology.
Yeah.
Put yourself, fix your body language. All of a sudden, you're going to feel more energized. Immediately, you're going to feel more energized. And then be careful about what you say. If you verbalize things like, oh, I'm very tired today, I'm exhausted today, careful. You fix your body language, you fix what it is that you're saying, all of a sudden you feel more energized. I give you an example. I had to say this, but whatever. My partner last night, I was home, and we were having dinner together. And she said to me, oh, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything. I'm like, okay, why are you exhausted? She was like, oh, because A, B, and C.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Then, I started being very funny. I put some music on. I started dancing. She started dancing as well. We were laughing. And then I stopped the music like this. And I said, you're not exhausted anymore. And she was like, oh. As soon as I said, she was like this, no, I am. And I'm like, no, you aren't. Like, you just want to convince yourself that you're exhausted.
Yeah.
You were dancing 20 seconds ago.
Yeah. That's good.
An exhausted person cannot do that. You can't change that in 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't feel tired anymore simply because you changed your physiology. I put some music on. You started smiling. You started dancing. You fixed your body language. All of a sudden, you felt more energy.
That's awesome, eh?
Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
And the number one enemy when it comes to energy is your mobile phone.
Yeah.
And I tell you why. Because when you check your mobile phone, what do? You do this.
Yeah, slouch.
Okay?
Yeah.
You're leaning forward, shoulders forward, the chest is not up, you're not smiling, you're looking down, you're not using your face. This is the body language of low energy. If you check your screen time and you check your phone, 10 hours a day, and then you wonder, oh, why don't I have energy? You spend too much time on your phone.
Yeah, it sucked all your energy out of you.
This is the body language of energy. You do this, you do this, okay? You say yes a couple of times, boom, energy is back. Tony Robbins is great for this. He's the one that really rewired my brain when it comes to energy.
Yeah.
And now I believe that energy is a choice. You can decide to have it. And a lot of people are just convinced that they don't have it, and therefore they live life that way.
It's that's something that I think everyone needs to hear. The masses needs to hear something like that, because that's awesome.
It's true.
Yeah, it's great.
But it's also true.
For sure. I'll go back to sales in a moment, but in terms of like fasting, it's funny you bring it up. It's one of the things that I'm going into at the moment and learning more and more about. What benefits do you see that you get when you're doing your fasts and whatnot?
Look, I don't really want to talk about it because I've only done 24 hours.
Okay.
I don't want to be, what's the terminology? A hypocrite. I don't want to be a hypocrite. Okay, so I don't want to teach you things that I haven't done properly.
Yeah. I'm
going to do my first 3-day fast this year. Until then, I don't want to give you advice.
Yeah, okay.
But I do have a lot of friends that have done 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, and they tell me after 3 days, 4 days, they feel extremely energized.
That's awesome, yeah.
But I don't want to talk about that too much because I'm not an expert when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm improving as well, right? Because I used to have the belief that I wasn't good when it comes to health, when it comes to nutrition, that I couldn't understand it.
Yeah.
I'm learning more and more as we speak, but I'm not at the point where I can teach.
It's a deep hole, I think, as well. And you almost, some sources you also, I guess everyone's so different as well. So you can't just look at it as a blanket rule.
Spot on.
Like you're your own experiment. So you can sort of see what goes on.
I keep it simple. I only buy organic food. So I don't buy food anymore from supermarkets.
Yeah.
So I only buy organic food. I make sure that I don't have any fluoride. So even like your toothpaste with no fluoride, make sure about that. Don't drink tap water because it's poison. Make sure about that. Simple things like that I make sure of. I make sure that I go to the gym. I make sure that I have a sauna and a cold plunge here and there. Like I don't have the perfect regime, but I try to be predominantly good. And then it's a lot of mental rewiring as well. Like every single morning before coming to work, I say certain things to myself every single day. Like I push myself in the car every single day. Sometimes I fucking scream in the car. By the time I walk in the office, I've rewired my brain for 20 minutes. And I'm extremely energized.
That's awesome.
So yeah, man, it's all mental.
Yeah,
it's all
definitely stuff.
Obviously, you can't have high energy levels if you go to McDonald's every day. Right?
Exactly.
So there is a balance. But what I'm trying to say, people have the belief that has nothing to do with mentality. There is a lot to do with mentality. Energy is an emotional state.
Yeah. All down to your physiology, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome, mate. Well, to bring it back down to, I guess, a bit more salesy avenue, in terms of like the young salespeople in the world, if you had to attribute one skill that you would say they should learn straight away, what would it be?
A skill in sales?
Yeah.
Okay, good question.
Or like the most important that you see in your eyes.
Yeah.
What's helped you?
Well, look, the most important, again, you're probably going to hate the answer here, but the most important one is before selling anything to anybody, you need to overcome your own internal objection.
Yeah.
Which, again, is a limiting belief that you have.
For sure.
So the first customer that you need to sign up is you.
Yeah.
That's what I always say.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first thing that you got to do, if you're working in sales, make sure that you believe in the product that you sell. You need to believe it.
Yeah.
Like, do whatever it takes to believe in that product. Try that product yourself. You got to be the first customer.
Yeah.
And if you can't fully believe in the product, don't sell it.
Yeah,
Otherwise, you're always going to be a tiny bit internally conflicted.
Yeah.
And if you are internally conflicted, you can be a top performer.
For sure.
Okay? Ask questions. Dive deep to the point where you fully believe in that product. Then you got to believe in the company that you're associated with as well.
Yeah.
Again, dive deep. Make sure the belief is 100%.
Yeah.
Once you believe in the product and the company, then you can also believe in yourself.
The three
okay?
things.
Because again, the main objection that you're ever going to receive in sales is your own internal objection. You know, so that's step one.
Yeah, for sure.
That is step one. The second most important skill is the ability to have a good introduction, okay? Because if you can't introduce yourself properly and if you can't nail the first impression, everything else is kind of pointless, right?
Yeah,
because can you recover from a bad first impression? Absolutely, but it's going to take time. It's going to take time. You're just making your life more complicated. So the second thing that you're going to nail is your first impression.
Yeah.
Once you overcome your own internal objection, and once you nail your first impression, sales is going to be easy. After that, once you have mastered those two, look, obviously sell benefits, not features, blah, blah, blah. That's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
You know, question-based selling and etc. But then the most important skill, in my opinion, is closing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, they're very good at selling. They're not that good at closing. So make sure that you spend some time in doing that. Make sure that you master objection handling, right?
For
So
sure.
these are the three main ones, in my opinion.
Yeah. I like how objections always sort of go down the same avenues as well. Like, they're always disguised as different things, but realistically, if you learn the fundamentals, like, usually it's all the same stuff.
Yeah.
And that's with everything,
Yeah.
I guess, across the board.
Yeah.
We were doing some Daniel G, some of his sales training today, actually. And it's interesting to see his perspective, but it's basically the same stuff. Like, in general, it's in terms of the main
Absolutely.
stuff
Like, the best salesperson is somebody that constantly gives reassurance to the other party, right?
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people are not good at overturning objections, simply because they come across confrontational. They're competing with the customer. No, I'm right, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Well, you're never going to be good at sales if that's the case. Once you understand that first of all, once you understand that objections are part of the process, because that's how the human brain is wired, everything it's easier because a lot of people, they just hope for the objections not to come.
Yeah.
They're like, hopefully they're not going to give me one. Well, that's quite, I was going to say a very bad word. I'm not going to say it. That's very stupid, I would say. Because that more than likely an objection is going to come. And also the beauty of sales, the objections are always the same.
Yeah.
What are they? It's like 7 main objections. Learn how to overturn them. Learn how to approach those 7 objections, and then you're going to live a much better life.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, in terms of like your experience, how do you think that someone's earnings directly correlate with their effort?
What do you mean specifically?
So I guess in terms of like someone's earnings, how does it directly correlate with someone's effort in terms of just with everything? Do you truly believe in that as well?
No, because I know a lot of people that work hard, but they're broke.
Yeah.
So, no, the mentality that working hard alone is going to make you rich is wrong.
Yeah.
It is one of the variables. It definitely is. If you're lazy, you're never going to get rich. But I know people that work 12 hours a day, 18 hours a day, they work at night, they work 7 days a week, they try so hard.
Yeah.
And sometimes the problem is that they're trying too hard. And sometimes the problem is that they're trying too hard on the wrong things.
Yeah.
So it's not about just working hard. It's about working hard on the right stuff. Mm-hmm. Because if you continuously repeat the same mistake, but you work hard on those mistakes, but you keep doing the same thing, you know, that's not going to lead anywhere good.
Yeah, of course.
So I think that effort is a prerequisite, but it's not the only one. Mm-hmm. You got to work hard on the right things. You got to be analytical. You got to understand when you're going wrong. You got to be able to pivot along the way. You got to be able to adjust along the way. You got to become extremely proactive along the way. That's not the main variable. I tell you what the main variables are. I said this in another podcast.
Yeah.
It's not about work ethic. It's about resourcefulness. It's about finding a way no matter what.
Yep.
Okay? Resourcefulness, in my opinion, is everything.
Yeah.
Okay? But sometimes people just work hard for the sake of working hard, but they're actually not resourceful. You can be extremely victimized and still work hard.
Yeah.
That's not going to give you anything.
Yeah.
Resourcefulness is a mindset, and obviously to be extremely resourceful, you also have to work hard. Mm-hmm. I call it 3RP, okay? That concept that I explained with Max. You got to be resourceful. You got to be reliable. You got to do the right thing, okay? You need to be rational.
Yeah.
Okay? You got to be rational. Because, again, a lot of people work very hard, but they're very emotional. That's not going to lead anywhere good. You got to be proactive. You need to fix problems before they even exist. And you need to have a high level of emotional intelligence, especially in sales. You got to understand people.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay? And if you have those 5 attributes, you're going to make a lot of money. If you just have work ethic, but you're not resourceful, you're not rational, you're not proactive, you don't understand people, okay? And you're not reliable, you're going to be broke. Don't know how else to say it.
3 major pillars.
Yeah.
That's you're not wrong.
No.
Not wrong. That's what you see, literally. You see it materializing.
You do see it.
Especially in this industry.
Yeah, and there are people, every day they go out there, they work very hard in sales.
Yeah.
But they never work on their pitch.
Yeah.
They never work on their persuasion skills. They never work on their on their emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
They never work on their objection handling. They never work on their introduction. They never work on their presentation. They never work on these elements. They just work hard.
Yeah.
What that's going to give you is not going to give you much because your life is not that appealing. Because everything that you do and every dollar that you earn, you only earn it by working extremely hard.
Yeah.
After a while, people are not going to like that, man.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to like that. And after a while, they're just going to leave you behind. That's a reality. So, the mindset of work ethic alone is going to get me there. No, it's one of the attributes.
Yeah,
but
course.
It's not the only one.
Yeah. You work smarter, not harder sort of thing as well, along those lines.
Yes, but I would replace resourcefulness with work ethic, right?
Yeah.
And to really have resourcefulness, you got to work hard.
Yeah.
Especially when you don't have resources that are working in your favor. And you just rely on yourself, you gotta work hard.
Yeah.
But the ability to find a way no matter what is also the ability to think outside the box.
Of course.
Okay, unconventional thinking. And then to follow that unconventional thinking, you still work very hard. Okay? but it's also a mindset thing.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
I feel like the macro thing that we've sort of gone, it's mostly down to mindset, wouldn't you say? Like, that's probably the major thing. If
Yes,
anything you can do is work on your mindset, and you'll do a lot better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. For sure.
Do you believe that we're building generational mindset change?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you said it yourself.
Yeah.
It's not about me telling you.
Yeah.
But you told me before that your brother had a very safe job, right? I don't know how much money he was making, but I would guess he was making more than 100K a year. Was it not?
Yeah.
Okay. For most people, once you get to the 100K mark, it's like, cool, made it. Don't touch me.
Of course.
I'm never going to leave this job. This is the life goal. Okay. So he was making that at the age of?
Literally 22.
22 years old.
Yeah.
More than 100K. That's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
But he left that. He decided to leave that behind, not because you told him to do so. And you tried to get your brother to come here many times, but he never did.
Yeah.
The only reason why he decided to leave that behind is because he saw a huge change in you, a person that he loves, his brother, and he saw how much you have changed and how positive you are, and your mindset has evolved so much.
Yeah.
And because of you, he has decided to leave the safe job behind, take a leap of faith, and work with us right now. So when you're asking me, do you believe that this is generational and can impact other people down the line? You've already done it yourself. So, of course, I do believe that what people are learning here is going to help them to succeed in life in general, but it's also going to help them to help other people.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I've seen it. Like, there are plenty of people that started working with us and they didn't want to go through the full progression structure. Maybe they just wanted to learn sales. Maybe they just wanted to learn leadership.
Yeah.
But then they wanted to move on and do something else. But still to this day, they call me and they say, man, like the skills that you told me, the principles that you told me, everything that you told me back then, I now utilize those skills to do what it is that I'm doing right now. So, yes,
awesome,
I do believe in that. I do believe in that. Now we need to work on how can we amplify the impact that we are making.
Yeah.
That's the next step for us, right? Which is why we're doing these things.
Yeah.
Okay, because if you're not doing this, we will suffer with impractical ambition. If you're like, we want to impact the world, but let's not do anything on social media.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. That's You see what I'm talking about when it comes to impractical ambition?
Yeah.
We want to impact everybody around the planet, but we're just going to work in Melbourne, Brisbane, and Gold Coast. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that would
sure.
be impractical. That's why we're doing these things, to make a bigger impact. But yes, I do believe it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Unreal.
Sounds good?
Sounds amazing, mate.
Great. Look, lastly, before we finish this off, we started doing polls before each episode, and we have people that are sending questions, okay? And so in each episode moving forward, we're going to pick one of the questions, and we're going to reply during the episode, which is pretty exciting. The question of the day is cold calling dead in this digital age? That's a great question. Ed, I'm going to ask you first, okay? And then I'm going to say my 2 cents. What do you think? Is cold calling dead in this digital age? Well, I would say most people believe that it is. What do you think?
I think the short answer is no. Mm-hmm. I think that a physical aspect in humanity in general, like human to human, it's always going to be relevant, no matter how digitalized we get. Mm-hmm. Because I think everyone needs to feel that human touch. Even if they don't believe it, it's literally something that's ingrained within us. Mm-hmm. Like, we can't survive just doing that. It's just not possible. So, yeah, I think the cold calling, it's always going to be around. The whole aspect of cold calling, it just makes sense. Yep. To me, anyway. I guess maybe not to the general populace, but now that doing it, I think that definitely helps as well. But yeah, no, I don't think it's dead, and I think it's well and alive, to be honest. I think it's the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah, great. Look, what I think is, since most people believe that it's dead, that's why I don't think it is.
Yeah.
That's my short answer, and I approve. I've got a very good friend of mine, runs a very successful consulting agency in Germany.
Yeah.
And what they teach to all their clients is cold calling, because all their clients that were competing on social media to get the same leads and get the same clients into the same funnels. And it got to a point where it was oversaturated and they couldn't get clients anymore. Mm-hmm. But everybody was so afraid to pick up the phone and cold call. Yeah. And then my friend stepped in and said, you know what, I'm going to teach you how to cold call. And now they're all making a lot of money.
For sure.
Because most people don't cold call nowadays, right? Because they don't believe that it works anymore. So, No, I believe that if you do anything well, it works.
For
okay,
sure.
is it going to be around forever? I don't know. Hey, AI is very strong these days. Maybe in 10 years from now, we're all going to be replaced by robots. So I can't tell you about forever.
Yeah.
I know that right now, for us, it's working very well. I know a lot of people around the world that are making it work very well.
Yeah.
And I do believe that in a digitalized world that we live in today, developing social skills is extremely important because these social skills are going to disappear soon.
Yeah.
Especially with AI becoming so powerful. You know, it's funny, man. Like, it's almost as if ChatGPT is becoming the new God. Like, I know people right now that are like, you know what, Patrick? I had this big issue and I didn't know how to overcome this issue. But then I spoke to ChatGPT and now I feel better about myself. And I'm like, wow, you spoke to ChatGPT and now you feel better about yourself. Like there are people asking to ChatGPT, what is my future going to look like? How do I overcome this trauma?
Yeah.
You know, ChatGPT has become the new best friend. This is
counselor.
This is reality, right? I already know a lot of people that are doing that.
Of course.
So I do believe that if you can have social skills, hopefully you're going to have an edge. And I want to believe that you're going to have an edge because I'm a little bit terrified if everything is going to be digitalized.
Yeah, 100%.
Humans are meant to be with humans.
I agree.
And when we are with humans, and there are some people who say, but I'm happy when I'm alone. I prefer when I'm alone. Let me ask you one question. If everybody was killed today and you were the only human being alive on this earth, it would be enjoyable for 4 days. But then it wouldn't be.
Yeah.
But what the fuck would you do? It's like that movie with Will Smith. What is the name? I'm a Legend. I'm a Legend. Have you ever watched that movie?
Legend, yeah.
Doesn't look very happy to me.
Nah. Got his dog. That's it.
That's it, right? I believe that humans are supposed to be with humans, are supposed to interact with humans. Like, I did an exercise a few weeks ago. It was a gratitude exercise where I closed my eyes for like 20 minutes and I went deep about all the moments in my life that I was truly grateful for.
Yeah.
And I thought that what was going to come to mind was business success and that time that I made that much money, that time that I opened that business. Not one of these thoughts came to mind. No one. Everything that came to mind were moments with my family, with my nieces, with my niece, with my nephew, with my sisters, with my brother, with my partner, with my friends.
Yeah.
Everything that came to mind were moments with other people. So if you ask me, do I believe that developing social skills is important? Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, AI hopefully is not going to raise your kids for you. Yeah. And if you can learn how to do, you know, direct sales or cold call sales, if you can learn how to communicate to that level, I believe that you're going to have an edge on the future. So I know 100%. I overextended myself about this topic, but no, I don't think it's dead. We're proving it every single day. Yeah. And I believe that everybody should invest some time in learning how to do that, because it's just going to make you tougher and it's going to make you a better human being.
Yeah. Hopefully you're not.
And the proof is Ed right here, right? Because of cold calling. Yeah. Right? His brother decided to leave the safest job in the world at the age of 22 years old to do the same thing. Yeah. Because he wanted to learn what you learned.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not just about me saying it. And I met your brother is a very smart guy.
For sure.
He's done that. There must have been a reason. So the answer is right there.
Amazing.
Phenomenal, brother. I think it's been extremely valuable. Do you agree?
Yes, mate. 100%. Great. Thank you for your time.
Great. What was the number one takeaway in 10 seconds?
I think the number one takeaway for me was the energy aspect of it and how it's not actually due to the external stuff, it's internal. So look intrinsically, change that, and then you can actually change your emotional state. That's my main takeaway from this for sure.
External stuff do matter. Yeah. But they're not the only thing.
Yeah,
that's what
like
I meant.
80-10 or 80-20, whatever you want to look at it. But
I don't know the split, but it's both. It's both.
Yeah, for sure.
It's both.
Yeah, it's just good to have that in the mind, to know that you can change it. Yeah. But I agree.
You can decide it starts from no longer tolerating negative emotions. Yeah. Once you make that decision and you say to yourself, I no longer tolerate negative emotional states, you're going to have more energy in your life. And whenever you feel a negative emotion flow into your brain, you fight it. And you say, I don't fucking tolerate you.
Yeah. Where the energy goes, money flows.
Yeah. It starts from, I don't tolerate anymore. I don't tolerate resentment. I don't tolerate fear. I don't tolerate scarcity. Okay. I don't tolerate sadness. I don't tolerate any of those things. And whenever you feel them, you just push them away. Say, my standards are higher. I do not tolerate you. Boom. You change your physiology, say a couple of good things, bring back a good memory. Boom, energy is back. Don't tolerate. People tolerate too much. They tolerate too much. And that's why they're sad. And that's why they have low energy levels, because they assume that that's who they are. No, life is a reflection of your standards. If you stop tolerating that shit, it's not going to happen anymore. Okay?
For sure.
So that's great, man. Look, the last question for you.
Of course, go for it.
What's your commitment? Okay, what's your commitment? You're going to say it on camera right now. We're going to hold you accountable. I'm going to send you the clip every single night. No, I'm joking.
Let's do it.
Okay, but what's your commitment? What's next for Ed Walker? What are you going to do? What is the impact that you're going to make? Tell everybody, please.
Is this on a community collective base?
I could be whatever you want.
Fair enough. Okay, well...
If you want to say that you're about to get married, say it. Like...
Yeah. Oh, no, just kidding. No marriage. That will come hopefully down the line. I think the commitment that I want to make on camera and to you guys is that I'm willing and I'm committing to creating at least 2 more team leaders within Community Collective by the end of the year. Mm-hmm. So I guess what I'm committing to is personal development for not only myself, but for the people within my team as well. Okay. And hopefully I can extend that to everyone. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I think in order to move and make yourself, I guess, with equip yourself with more skills and whatnot, it's always about developing others, because you have to develop as a consequence in order to do that. So
absolutely,
that's my commitment, mate. There you go.
Are you prepared for it?
I am prepared for it, but it's going to be more and more work as we go along. In terms of there's always more to prepare for, if that makes sense.
Is the work going to be hard or enjoyable?
It's going to be both. It's going to be hard, but it will be enjoyable afterwards.
Okay. And will be enjoyable in the process as well.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. And I think, there's calm in the storm, or whatever you want to look at it, but the hardships that you are faced with is building your character for the future. So I think it's more important.
And what if that's not going to happen? Are you going to tolerate that?
Tolerate in terms of not hitting those goals?
Yes.
No, I won't tolerate it, because I think, as you said, people tolerate too much, so it's time to not tolerate.
Exactly. Do not tolerate.
Let's go.
Life is a reflection of your standards.
That's it, mate.
Okay? And if you have high standards, at some point you will get those standards.
Bloody
and you will get the outcome that you want. Ed, it was a pleasure, man. Thank you very much.
You're a superstar.
Thank you very much. Okay, it was a pleasure. Make sure you watch the episode. Make sure you follow us. We're going to be posting this episode once every month for now. Okay, that's it. So thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you the next time.